Stop digging. His voice cracked before he meant it to. The shovel kept moving. Metal bit into hard earth, lifted dust, dropped it beside a narrow hole already waist-deep. The girl did not look up. Go away. He stepped closer anyway, boots sliding on loose sand. That is a grave. I know. Her hands were raw and split, wrapped in dirty cloth. A sheriff's badge hung from her belt, catching light each time she bent forward. You are not supposed to have that. He is not supposed to be dead. The words hit him harder than the heat. He swallowed. Who is dead? My father. The shovel struck something solid and she cursed under her breath. He watched the hole. It was too short for a grown man. Too narrow. Who is that for? She paused, finally looking at him. Her eyes were red but dry. Not him. Not yet. Wind pushed dust between them. He felt small standing above her, like he had walked into something private and wrong. You should not be out here alone, he said. Neither should you. I am a scout. She almost laughed. A lonely one. He did not answer. The badge swung again. My troop is 2 miles back. Then go back. I cannot. Why? He did not know how to explain the pull in his chest. Because you are digging a grave. That makes you uncomfortable. Yes. Good. She drove the shovel in harder. Dirt sprayed his jeans. He wiped it off without thinking. Who told you he killed himself? He asked. Everyone. Did you believe them? She stared into the hole. No. He shifted his weight. The ground around the grave was marked by other shallow starts, like she had tried before and given up. How long have you been out here? Since morning. It was almost dusk. Your hands are bleeding. They were bleeding yesterday too. He crouched near the edge and looked down. The hole smelled like dry clay and something older. You cannot bury someone alone, he said. Watch me. It is not deep enough. I know. Then why keep digging? Because I need it ready. For who? She met his eyes again. For when the truth shows up. He did not understand that, but he felt the weight of it. You think someone else is going in there. I know it. Her jaw tightened. He leaned closer. You sound sure. I am. He hesitated. What if you are wrong? Then I will fill it back in. Silence stretched. The sun dipped lower, turning the dirt dark red. He glanced behind him toward the empty stretch of land. No houses. No roads. Just wind and distance. If your father is not in there, where is he? In town. In a box. They would not let me see him. His stomach twisted. Why? They said it was not good for me. Maybe it was not. She stepped out of the hole and stood face to face with him. He shot himself twice. The words came flat. That is not possible. Exactly. She picked up the shovel again and climbed back down. He watched her shoulders shake once before she steadied. You could report it. I did. To who? The men who signed the paper. And what did they say? They said grief makes stories. He felt anger rise, strange and sudden. That is wrong. She looked up at him through the rising dust. You want to help. He froze. I do not know how. Start by getting in. He stared at the hole. It looked deeper now. If someone sees us, let them. He stepped forward, boots sinking at the edge. His heart pounded. This is crazy, he whispered. Probably. She handed him the shovel. Then stopped talking. He slid down into the grave beside her. The dirt felt cool against his legs. They stood shoulder to shoulder in the narrow space. Where do we dig? Everywhere. He pushed the blade into the earth. The sound echoed in the tight space. Above them, the sky darkened. Neither of them looked up. They dug in silence for a long stretch, dust rising with each strike of the shovel. The scout's arms ached, but he could not stop watching her. Every movement was precise, furious. Finally, she let the shovel rest against the side of the grave. "My father wore that badge," she said quietly, almost to herself. He froze. The scout's hand hovered over his own shovel. "Which one?" he asked. "The one hanging here." She pointed to the badge at her belt. "He remembers," he said. She shrugged, shoulders stiff. "I can still hear him." "Scout, hear him how?" "Girl, at night. Telling me what to do. Telling me who's lying." The wind carried sand across her face. He swallowed hard. "She keeps digging." He said nothing. He did not want to be the one to ask. "Who killed him?" She turned, eyes dark. "The men who shook his hand." "Scout, the deputies?" "Girl, the governor." His stomach dropped. "Scout, why? What did he do?" "Girl, he refused to sign the land order. They wanted the desert. He wouldn't sell graves." "Scout, so they shot him?" "Girl, they called it suicide. 2 bullets in the chest. 1 in the back." He felt the heat of the sun fade, like someone had drawn it out. "Scout, I don't understand. Who else knew?" "Girl, no one. That is why I dig. I need it ready." "Scout, ready for what?" "Girl, for someone else. They're not done yet." She bent again, metal biting earth. Her hands shook slightly. He noticed the cuts, dry and crusted, forming white lines through dirt. "Scout, you shouldn't be doing this alone." "Girl, I am not alone. You're here." "Scout, I don't know if I should be." "Girl, you're already here." He lifted the shovel and tried to match her pace. They moved together in silence, striking at the earth, sand falling like slow rain. "Scout, where did you get the badge?" "Girl, from his belt. No one took it from him, not yet." "Scout, are you going to bury him?" "Girl, no. That's not for him. I dig for what comes after." She drove the shovel into dirt, the metal ringing against hidden rock. "Scout, I don't know if I can do this." "Girl, you're already doing it. Stop worrying." He paused, chest tight. "Scout, who else?" "Girl, someone who can't tell. Someone who can't see the truth yet." "Scout, do you think they'll come?" She stopped and looked up at him. The sun edged lower. Her eyes held something heavier than grief. "Girl, they're already coming. Always coming." "Scout, then why dig?" "Girl, because if I don't, it will never matter." He swallowed again. The badge caught the last light of day. She brushed it lightly, like touching her father without touching the wound. "Scout, I wish I understood." "Girl, you will. You have to be here first." They dug faster now, rhythm and motion. The sound of metal against earth was steady, almost comforting. "Scout, you ever been caught?" "Girl, no one sees me until it is too late." "Scout, what if someone does?" "Girl, then they see the truth." The hole grew deeper. Dust coated their skin, sweat mixed with fine grit. "Scout, I feel like we're breaking something." "Girl, no. We're finding it." "Scout, finding what?" "Girl, the truth. The bodies. The lies. Everything he tried to protect." She bent closer to the earth, whispering under her breath. "Scout, I don't hear anything." "Girl, you will. When you're ready." "Scout, ready for what?" She slammed the shovel, sending a small cloud of dust up. "Girl, for when it shows up. The truth doesn't wait." We do. Silence fell, heavy and thick. He looked down at the badge dangling from her belt. It was scuffed, scratched, but it shone. He wanted to reach out, touch it, anchor himself. She noticed. Girl, don't. You're already part of this now. Scout, I'm scared. Girl, good. It means you care. The grave deepened. Shadows stretched across the desert floor, long and jagged. Scout, will we finish before night? Girl, we don't finish. We prepare. Scout, prepare for what? Girl, for what they tried to hide. They worked as night came, muscles aching, breaths shallow, the badge glinting faintly in the dim. Dust and silence mixed with the weight of what they both understood. He finally nodded. Scout, I'll stay. Girl, good. We need to. Her eyes returned to the hole, shoveling dirt with renewed force, steady, unyielding, determined. He followed, shoulder to shoulder, heart pounding. She whispered once, barely audible over the scrape of metal, "We're going to need a body." He flinched but said nothing. The wind carried her words into the darkening desert. The sky was empty above them, but somehow, in that small grave, they were not alone. They heard the tires first, crunching over gravel a half-mile off, a low growl through the still desert air. The scout froze. Footsteps followed, heavier, closer. He looked at her. She didn't flinch. "We have to go," he whispered. "No." She kept digging, shovel slicing into dirt. "They'll see us," he pressed. "That's the point," she said, voice flat. Two deputies crested the ridge, one young, one older, the sun casting their shadows long across the ground. "What are you doing out here?" The older one barked. "Digging," she said simply. "For what?" He stepped closer, gaze sharp. "Truth," she answered. The younger deputy glanced at the badge at her belt. "You shouldn't have that," he said. "Neither should you," she shot back. The scout stiffened. He opened his mouth. She cut him off with a look. One of them knelt near the grave, peering in. "You found bones," he said. Scout's stomach dropped. "What?" she asked. He didn't answer. They were not there. The hole was empty. She exhaled slowly, watching the deputies exchange a glance. The older one's face tightened. "Get out of here," he said, voice low but dangerous. "We can't," Scout muttered. "They'll." The girl's hand touched his arm. "Let them watch," she whispered. The deputies circled slowly. Questions came rapid fire. "Who's buried here? Why dig alone? Did someone order this?" She answered bluntly, "Clean. Everyone lies." The older deputy stepped closer, hand brushing against the badge. "You shouldn't have this," he said again. She tilted her head. "Neither should you," she replied. Silence hung for a beat. Then the younger deputy glanced nervously at the horizon. "It's just a kid," he muttered, voice shaky. The older one motioned to leave. "Back to town." Scout opened his mouth again. "What about the grave?" She shook her head. "Not yet." They turned, boots crunching on the gravel, dust rising behind them. Scout exhaled. "That was too close," he said. "Not close enough," she replied. They resumed digging, dirt sliding down the sides, shovels biting harder. He glanced at the badge again, the metal glinting in late afternoon light. "Do you ever sleep?" he asked. She kept striking the earth. "Not yet." He wanted to run, wanted to call someone, but he stayed, shoulders tense, hands dirty, heart pounding. "You feel it too," she said without looking. "What?" The silence. "The truth." "They're watching." Scout swallowed. "Yes." He realized then that this was not just a hole. It was a trap, a warning, a promise. "We keep digging." "Why?" he asked. "Because no one else will," she said. The wind shifted, sand spraying their faces. The deputies' figures shrank into the heat haze. The desert was empty again. Scout wiped sweat from his forehead. "You're not scared?" She glanced at him briefly. "I am." "You?" He nodded once. "Together then," she said. Side by side, they drove the shovels deeper. The hole widened, shadows stretching across its edges. Scout felt the pulse of fear, the weight of what they were doing. "What if someone comes back?" He whispered. "Then they'll see," she said. "They'll see everything. Dust coated their hands, clothes, skin." The sky turned pale orange. Their breaths were loud in the hollow space. The scout felt time slow, the desert compress around them. Every sound, the scrape of metal, the shifting dirt, the faint cry of birds, seemed amplified. "Do you ever think about leaving?" he asked quietly. "Never," she said. He didn't press. Together, they dug, the sun sinking lower, shadows merging with the hole. They did not speak again for a long stretch, only the scrape of shovels, the scrape of earth, the rhythm of their own hearts. Scout glanced at the badge, flickering in the last light. "You're sure about this?" he asked. She met his gaze. "As sure as I can be." The desert stretched endless, but in that narrow grave, their world had shrunk to dust, sweat, and the certainty that running was not an option. When the sun finally touched the horizon, they paused, breathing hard, dirt smeared across faces. He looked at her. "We're alive, right?" "Yes," she said. "But not free." "Not yet." They straightened, shovels in hand, ready to continue, eyes fixed on the empty horizon where the deputies had vanished, knowing this night was only the beginning. Inside the sheriff's office, the air smelled of old wood and tobacco. The girl slammed the envelope onto the desk. "He was sitting when they shot him," she said, voice steady but sharp. The deputy behind the desk flinched. "Enough," he said. "You're lying." She shook her head. "2 bullets. Front to back." He leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "2 bullets?" The scout's hand touched hers lightly. "Where did you get this?" He whispered. "He mailed them to himself," she said. "Photographs, notes, small evidence tucked in envelopes over weeks." The sheriff who had replaced her father stepped in, face pale, suit pressed. "You're done here," he said. "You're sitting in his chair," she said, voice calm, almost daring. He leaned forward. "Careful, girl." She didn't blink. She spread the photos on the desk. Blood-stained wood, splintered chair, fingerprints smeared. "Scout, we should leave." "Girl, no." The sheriff waved a hand, deputies tense behind him. "You shouldn't have these," he said. "I should," she replied. "They belonged to him." He tried to reach across the desk. She slapped his hand away. Silence filled the room. The scout's stomach churned. "Sheriff, get her out of here." "Girl, not until someone answers." The sheriff pressed a button under the desk, a buzzer hummed. 2 deputies moved toward her. She looked at the scout. "Go," she whispered. He stayed. He couldn't. "You're making it worse," he said. "They only understand force." "Girl, then I will show them." One of the deputies grabbed the envelope. She yanked it back. "Don't," she said. The older deputy's jaw tightened. "Scout, what happens if you show them?" "Girl, then they see the truth." Papers rustled. The sheriff's face went red. "You have no authority here," he barked. "I have more than you think," she said. The scout noticed her hands no longer shook. She was steady, dangerous. "Sheriff, you think you can intimidate me?" She stared at him. "No. I know I can." The young deputy whispered to the older one. "He's bluffing, right?" The older deputy shook his head. The envelope slid from the desk to the floor. Photographs scattered. She bent to pick them up, one by one. "Scout, maybe we should run." She didn't respond. The room was thick with tension. Papers, blood, badges, chairs, history pressed in. She finally straightened, gaze locked on the sheriff. "You can't erase him," she said. "Not with words. Not with orders." The sheriff swallowed. "You think this town will remember him?" She looked past him, eyes hard. "They will." The scout felt a cold pulse in his chest, like the desert night had crept in. The sheriff backed up slightly. "Give it to me," he said, voice low. She shook her head. "Not until someone tells the truth." He clenched his fists. "Step aside, girl." She did not move. The scout stepped forward. "He touches it again. It's his." "You don't take it," he said. The sheriff's face twisted. "Then they will both regret it." She smiled faintly. "Maybe. Maybe not." Silence stretched. The envelopes lay between them. Shadows pooled in the corners. The scout realized the office was no longer neutral, it belonged to her now, and the weight of the badge made it heavier than ever. The sheriff backed toward the door. "You'll pay for this," he said. She tilted her head. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe not." The chapter ended with the badge catching the sunlight streaming through the window, glinting like a promise, like a warning, like the start of something they both couldn't stop. The office was silent except for the shuffle of papers the sheriff had tried to reclaim. "Give it back," the girl demanded, voice low, controlled. "It's evidence," he said, chest rising with authority he barely felt. "It's mine," she spat. The scout stepped forward, hands clenching. "He earned it," he said. The sheriff smirked, leaning on the desk. "Your daddy was weak," he said, eyes sharp. She didn't blink. She slapped him. Hard. Silence. The young deputy's jaw tightened, watching the exchange. "Get her out," the sheriff barked. "Scout, I'm not moving." She looked at him. "He shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I'm staying," he said. She nodded once. The sheriff leaned back, rage in his eyes. He grabbed for the badge. She twisted, pulling it to her chest. "You can't take his name," she said. He pressed harder. Scout stepped in front of her. "Don't," he said. The sheriff froze. "Girl, you think this office protects you? It doesn't." She raised the badge slightly. Shining metal in the dim light. The sheriff's face paled. His grip faltered. The young deputy whispered to the older one. "She's not bluffing." Older deputy shook his head. "He's gone too far." "Scout, step back." She took a deep breath, shaking slightly. "Don't," she said. "I mean it." "Sheriff, you're just a child." "Girl, I'm not a child." "Scout, she's not alone." "Sheriff, you won't leave here alive if you—" She cut him off. "Try me." Dust from boots on the floor, paper edges curling from the heat of anger. He could not move. She held the badge closer. "Scout, you need to get out before it—" "I said I'm not moving," she interrupted. Her voice grew colder, sharper. He tried to stand, chest rising, fists trembling. The young deputy muttered again. "He doesn't know what he's doing." The older deputy sighed. "Step aside," he whispered, almost to himself. She let the envelope slide to the floor, photos spilling. His eyes widened at each image. Scout crouched, picking up a photo. "He sees it," he whispered. She nodded. "This is it." She bent slightly to meet his eyes. "They're watching," he said. "They always are." She smirked faintly. "Then let them." Silence filled the room again, thick and heavy. The sheriff's hand twitched toward the door. She didn't move. He tried to backtrack. "You'll pay for this," he said. "Maybe," she said, voice flat. "Maybe not." Scout glanced at the badge again. It gleamed in the low light, heavier than metal. She held it like a shield, like a weapon. The young deputy looked away, the older one's jaw tight. The balance had shifted. The office no longer belonged to the sheriff. It belonged to her now. And the badge was a declaration. She stepped back toward the door, holding it high. Scout followed. The sheriff leaned against the wall, defeated but alive. "Girl, remember him." Silence. The badge swung lightly with her movement. Shadows stretched across the office floor. "Scout, what now?" She didn't answer immediately. "Girl, now we make them see." The chapter ended with their steps echoing down the hall, badges, papers, authority, and fear all in their wake, leaving the office hollow but not empty. She led him away from the office, the desert stretching between them like a silent warning. "Scout, where are we going?" "The well," she said. "Scout, the old one near the ridges?" She didn't answer, only kept walking, boots kicking up dry dust. When they arrived, the well was half hidden by brush, weathered wood leaning at odd angles. She crouched, brushing dirt from the top. "They wanted this water," she said quietly. "Scout, it's dry." "Not underneath," she said. She knelt, reaching down and lifting the wooden cover. It groaned, old hinges protesting. The air inside smelled faintly sour, like earth long buried. "Scout, what is that?" She dropped a rock into the darkness. It thudded against something soft. Scout leaned over. "Shine the flashlight," he said. She did, the narrow beam catching a boot, a folded shirt, a flash of bone. "Scout, that's..." She shook her head. "Yeah." He stepped back, stomach twisting. "Scout, who?" She didn't answer. Footsteps approached behind them, crunching over sand and stone. Scout froze. She glanced back once, expression unreadable. "You should have stayed out of this," she said softly. "Scout, I didn't know." She ignored him, shining the light into the well again. Cloth, leather, earth, someone had tried to hide it well. "Scout, we need to tell someone." She shook her head. "Not yet." She reached down, steady hands brushing dust from the boot. "Scout, is it him?" She swallowed, eyes fixed in the beam. "Maybe. Maybe not." She straightened and looked at him. The badge at her belt glinted faintly in the fading light. "Scout, this is bad." She tilted her head. "The worst is already done." "Scout, then why are we here?" She bent down again. "To see the truth," she said. He felt his throat tighten. "Scout, we could get caught." She stood slowly, dust coating her clothes. "Let them see," she said. "Scout, see what?" She motioned toward the well. "Everything. Bones, lies, the men who hide behind power." "Scout, and if they come now?" She looked at the horizon, faint sun spilling across the desert. "Then they'll see the truth." Scout swallowed. He could feel the weight of what they were about to uncover. The wind rose, carrying dust, carrying tension. She set the flashlight down and crouched at the edge. "Scout, I can't do this alone." She nodded. "You won't." Together, they leaned over the well, muscles tense, hearts pounding. "Scout, ready?" She glanced at him. "Always." Their hands brushed on the rope and the flashlight, but she did not flinch. "Scout, it's deeper than it looks." She met his eyes. "Then dig deeper," he whispered. She did, slow, methodical, uncovering what the desert had tried to hide. Scout watched, heart hammering. The silence was heavy, the air thick with dread. She paused, eyes wide. "Scout, what is it?" She exhaled slowly. "Something they weren't meant to see." Scout swallowed. Then she leaned closer, whispering. "This is only the start." He nodded, understanding. The well wasn't just water. It was a secret, a warning, a trap, and a promise. They stayed crouched at the edge, watching, breathing, the badge catching the last light, proof that someone had tried to stop them. The older deputy's boots crunched against loose gravel as he approached the well, shoulders heavy with unease. Scout tensed. "He's here," he whispered. The girl didn't flinch. "You shouldn't have done this," the deputy said, voice low, tight. She looked at him without blinking. "I know what you did." His jaw tightened, gaze flicking to the edge of the well. "We were ordered," he muttered, almost inaudible. "Ordered?" Scout asked. She straightened, hands gripping the rope. He said nothing more. "The men in charge wanted it cleaned, buried, hidden." She spat on the dirt. "He thinks we're blind," she said. The deputy swallowed, uneasy. "We were told to make it go away." "Scout, go where?" He hesitated. She pressed, eyes hard. "How many?" He shook his head. "Girl, answer me." Older deputy, "I can't." "Girl, then I'll find out myself." Scout's hands shook slightly on the rope. "Don't push him," he whispered. She shook her head. He didn't belong to the law. He belonged to fear. She leaned closer to the edge, peering into the darkness below. Names, faces, bodies, all hidden under years of sand and lies. "Scout, is it them?" She nodded. Their fathers, neighbors, men who trusted orders more than conscience. The deputy stepped back, sweat dampening his collar. "You could have stopped this," she said, voice cold. He swallowed. "I was afraid." She glanced at Scout, letting the words hang. "So was he," she said. Fear had buried more than dirt. "Scout, do we tell someone?" She shook her head. "Not yet. Let them see first." The wind rose, carrying the scent of dust, of earth, of secrets long kept. She moved to the rope, checking its strength, ready to descend. "Scout, I'll go with you." She nodded. Side by side. He leaned over the well, peering down into shadows and half-buried truth. The deputy stepped closer again. "Girl, do you want to stop this?" He hesitated. "I can't." She shook her head, disgust clear. "Scout, then let's do it." She handed him the flashlight, the beam cutting through darkness. Dust clung to their clothes, sweat streaked across their faces. The older deputy's shoulders sagged, the weight of complicity pressing down. "Girl, you think you can hide behind orders?" He swallowed hard. She bent lower to inspect the edge. "Scout, we're about to see everything." She nodded. The rope felt heavy in her hands, metal against skin, earth pressing against resolve. The desert seemed to hold its breath. "Step carefully," she said. "Scout, I've never done anything like this." She tightened her grip. "Neither have I," she said. "But we must." Silence stretched, broken only by the scrape of the rope and the whisper of the wind. "Scout, what if they come back?" She glanced up, eyes hard. "Then they'll see," she said. "They'll see everything they tried to bury." Dust fell from the edges, small stones clattering into the darkness. "Scout, I'm scared." She met his eyes. "Good. It means we care." Together, they leaned over the edge of the well, hearts pounding, breaths short. The deputy watched, guilt pressing heavier than fear. She whispered once, barely audible. "You should have stayed quiet." "Scout, we can't." She shook her head. "We never could." The shadows of the well seemed deeper now, ancient, final, holding all the secrets the desert had tried to swallow. Their hands met briefly on the rope, reassurance in the dark, as they prepared to confront what lay beneath. Dust swirled across the ridge as a black car crested the horizon. The governor stepped out, polished boots sinking slightly in sand, suit immaculate, expression controlled. The scout tensed, glancing at the girl. "This is unfortunate," he said, voice smooth but cold. "Girl, you mean illegal." His eyes flicked to the badge at her belt. "Your father was unstable," he said. "Scout, you're lying." The girl's hands rested on the rope and the flashlight, shoulders squared. You want justice? He asked, stepping closer. Girl, I want truth. The governor smiled faintly, a predator who believed he had the advantage. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a folded envelope. Money, he said. For what? She shot back. You think I'm for sale? The scout's jaw tightened. He's bluffing, he whispered. She didn't answer. The governor bent slightly, lowering his voice. You think this town will follow you? He motioned toward scattered buildings and the distant silhouettes of townspeople. She looked at them briefly, silent, expression unreadable. The young deputy stepped forward from the shadows, voice trembling. There are 3 bodies. The governor's smile faltered, thin and brittle now. He glanced at the well. Girl, you thought we'd stay quiet. He straightened, trying to regain composure. They won't, she said, voice cold. The townspeople were emerging from behind buildings, hats in hands, cautious, watching. Scout, what now? The girl met his gaze. Now they see. The governor's lips pressed tight, a flicker of panic beneath his composure. He gestured at his aides. Control it, he said. She shook her head. Not anymore. The wind carried their words across the dry desert. Every movement felt deliberate, calculated. The governor tried to regain his poise, but the weight of exposure pressed down. She stepped closer to the well, hands gripping the rope. Scout, are we ready? She nodded once. Always. Dust coated her boots and clothes, sun burning low. The governor's eyes darted to the badge glinting faintly on her belt. He realized then that this was not just a girl. This was the law he had tried to control. Scout, they won't stop us. She shook her head. They already tried. He looks at the townspeople, uncertainty spreading. The power he had counted on evaporated. The older deputy's face was pale, hands fidgeting. The governor's voice rose slightly. You can't do this. She tilted her head. Watch me. Scout, it's too late. Dust swirled, and the air seemed to hold its breath. The sun dipped lower, shadows lengthening over the well and their figures. The governor swallowed hard, sweat forming at his temples. He had underestimated her. She stood firm, arms steady, eyes locked on him. Scout, it's over. She shook her head slightly. Not yet. But close. The townspeople closed ranks suddenly, murmurs rising. You thought power was yours, she said quietly. It's never been yours. The governor's hands clenched, jaw tight, all control slipping. Scout, they're going to see everything. She nodded. The well gaped below, dust rising, shadows pooling. Power shifted quietly but completely. The governor glanced back at the car, aides frozen. The badge at her belt reflected the last light of day. Girl, we're not leaving. Not without truth. He opened his mouth but no words came. Scout felt the tension, the desert holding every secret in its stillness. Dust settled. Shadows stretched. The wind carried faint voices from the town below. The governor's smile vanished entirely, a thin line of fear. They had won the first round. She and the scout stood at the well, unwavering. The chapter ended as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over bodies unseen, promises unbroken, and a truth the governor could not contain. The crowd gathered slowly, dusty boots crunching across the desert floor, murmurs rising like wind over dry grass. She stepped forward, badge gleaming faintly in the last light. Open it, she said, voice sharp. The governor's face hardened, hands pressed to his hips. You don't have the authority, he said, smooth, controlled, but the edge of panic was there. She lifted the badge slightly. Maybe I do, she said. Scout, are you sure about this? She glanced at him. Always. They moved to the well together. The wooden cover was stubborn, weathered, groaning as she lifted one edge. Papers scattered nearby, burned edges curling in the dry wind. Scout, here goes nothing. She nodded, dropping the cover entirely. Dust spiraled into the air. Bodies lay beneath, half hidden, still, silent. Scout swallowed. 1, 2, 3. The older deputy stepped forward, voice shaking. We were told to clean it. Girl, clean what? His hands trembled. Land. The bones. The proof. Scout's stomach turned. The town went silent. Murmurs spread slowly, growing, eyes widening at what had been buried. She leaned closer, whispering. The lies won't stand. Scout, how many? She shook her head, brushing dust from a boot. Too many. The governor tried to push forward. Girl, back. He faltered, glance darting to the townspeople. The crowd, hesitant at first, now murmured louder. They wanted justice, wanted truth. Scout, what do we do now? Girl, let them see everything. The sun sank lower, streaking the desert with gold and red. Scout glanced at her. She was calm, steady, every movement deliberate. The governor clenched his fists, realizing the tide had turned. Girl, every name they tried to hide, every promise broken, every life ignored, we bring it up. The older deputy's shoulders sagged, guilt pressing heavier than fear. Scout, the town will turn on him? She looked past him. Already turning. The first whispers, first accusations, rising like dry fire. The governor's smile vanished. She reached down, hands brushing dirt from a folded shirt, a boot, the faint glint of a badge forgotten in the dust. Scout, it's all here. She nodded. This is only the start. The young deputy muttered, voice low. They'll burn us for this. Girl, then let them. We did not hide. We did not lie. Scout, do we wait for them? She shook her head. We act. The townspeople stepped closer, circling, faces set, hands tight on hats and belts. Scout, we can't stop now. Girl, we never stopped. They just thought we would. The wind picked up, carrying dust, the scent of dry earth, the weight of secrets long buried. The well yawned open, exposing the past, exposing lies, exposing fear. Scout felt his chest tighten. Girl, this is what truth looks like. Shadows pooled in the deep, the dirt clinging to shapes, reminders of the men who trusted orders over conscience. The governor's aides faltered, eyes wide. Scout, they can't ignore this. Girl, no one can. She stepped back from the edge, hands on the rope, chest heaving. Scout, it's too much. She glanced at him. Not for us. For them. Dust settled around them, still thick, heavy, and full of the power of exposure. Scout realized then that nothing would ever be quiet again. She leaned toward the town, voice carrying. Every lie ends here. The chapter ended with sunlight fading, shadows stretching, and the truth laying bare beneath the desert, waiting for no one. Smoke rose from the scattered papers, black curls twisting against the fading light. The governor shoved documents into a small fire, hoping the flames would hide the truth. Girl, it won't work. He laughed nervously. You're a child, he said, flames reflecting in his eyes. Scout stepped closer. Not anymore, he said. The girl's hands were steady, gripping the rope at the well's edge. Sheriff, step back. She faced him, ice cold. Shoot me, she said. Silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. He couldn't. Scout's jaw tightened. Girl, watch them burn. Watch lies melt. But fire doesn't erase bones. Sparks rose higher, licking the desert air. The governor's voice trembled. You think this town will follow you? She didn't answer, only stared at the flames, watching papers curl and blacken. Scout, we need to finish this. She nodded, shoving a few more sheets into the fire. Townspeople had gathered, some staring, some whispering. The older deputy's hands shook. Girl, do you see now? This is what truth looks like. The flames reflected in her eyes. She wasn't afraid. Scout, he'll retaliate. She shrugged slightly. Let him try. The governor tried to stamp out a paper, smoke curling around his fingers. Girl, it's too late for that. Scout, he has power. He could, she cut him off. Not anymore. The sheriff's gun rested in his hand, trembling. Girl, you won't. Not this time. Flames popped, sparks scattering over sand, shadows dancing across faces tense with fear. Scout watched her, heart pounding. Girl, every lie they hid, every crime they buried, we shine light on it. And nothing burns that truth away. He swallowed hard. Scout, what about the bodies? She looked down at the well. They'll be found. Scout, and if they aren't? She smiled faintly. Then we dig deeper. The governor's voice rose, panic finally breaking his composure. Girl, quiet. Listen. You hear it? Scout strained his ears. The desert seemed alive, whispering with the weight of hidden secrets, of bones pressed beneath the earth. Scout, it's silent. Girl, silent for too long. Not anymore. Flames cast long shadows. Scout glanced at the townspeople. Faces set, hands clenched. They were with her. The governor stepped back, realization dawning. He could not control this anymore. Scout, we did it. She shook her head. Not yet. She bent toward the fire, shoving in more papers, sparks flying over her boots. Scout, what now? She straightened, shoulders squared. Now they remember. The sheriff lowered his gun, eyes wide. The wind carried smoke, dust, and the scent of burned lies across the desert. Scout, are we safe? She looked down at the well, the bodies beneath, the badge catching the last light of sun. Safe is a word for those who hide. We don't hide. The fire burned higher, relentless, but the bones remained. Scout, it won't erase them. She shook her head. No. Nothing erases the truth. Dust settled, flames died slowly, shadows shrinking. The badge gleamed faintly on her belt, proof that no fire could undo what had been uncovered. Scout glanced at her. Girl, it's done for them. For everyone who couldn't speak. He nodded, the desert air heavy with smoke, history, and the weight of justice finally begun. The desert stretched endless around them, empty and quiet, but the weight of what had been unearthed pressed heavy. Scout, it's over? She shook her head slowly. Not yet. Scout, then what? She knelt at the edge of the well, hands brushing dust from the edges. The curse was silence, she whispered. Scout, what do you mean? She looked up at him, eyes dark and steady. The town never spoke, never questioned, never remembered. That was the curse. Scout, and now? She straightened. Now we speak. Scout, even them? She glanced toward the scattered townspeople, still gathering, still murmuring. Even them. Scout, they'll remember? She nodded. Every lie, every hidden crime, every death that was ignored, they'll carry it now. The badge caught sunlight, faint and unwavering. Scout, and the men who tried to hide it? They're exposed, she said. Scout swallowed. Scout, what if they retaliate? She shook her head. Then they'll see. The desert seemed to hold its breath, wind stirring dust over the half-buried truths. Scout, we can't stop it? No. The curse is gone. Scout, because we spoke. Yes. She motioned toward the well, the dirt, the scattered bones, the truth finally visible. Scout, do you feel free? She paused, letting the wind carry the dust between them. Free is a word for the living. We carry it differently. Scout, I don't understand. She smiled faintly. You will. Scout, when? When it matters. Scout watched her fingers trace the edge of the well. The weight of silence had pressed on the town for decades, and now it lifted slightly, replaced by whispers, questions, names spoken aloud for the first time. Scout, and the curse? It isn't gone, she said. It's transformed. Into memory, into accountability. Scout, so it's not punishment? No. It's justice. Scout, even for those who died? Especially for them. The desert shifted, shadows lengthening across the dirt, the bones, the edge of the well. Scout, we did it? She looked at him, hands dusty, heart steady. We did it together. Scout, it's quiet now. She nodded slowly, eyes scanning the horizon. Quiet, but not silent. Scout, the town, they will remember. And speak. The sun dipped lower, painting the desert in long lines of gold and red. The badge at her belt caught the last rays. Scout, the curse, she smiled faintly. Scout, it's gone? Not gone, transformed. The desert had been patient, long-suffering, holding secrets in its dust. Now the truth was exposed. Scout, we changed it? She nodded. The curse of silence became the curse of accountability. Scout, and us? We carry it. Together. Dust settled, wind carried faint voices across the desert. The townspeople murmured, watching, learning, understanding for the first time. Scout, I'll never forget this. She glanced at him, eyes dark and steady. Neither will I. The badge swung lightly at her belt, a symbol of everything unearthed. The chapter ended with the wind whispering through the desert, silence broken, curses lifted, and a truth that could no longer be hidden. The well yawned open, shadows pooling around its edges. Scout, are we ready? She didn't answer, only gripped the rope tighter. Dust clung to their clothes, sweat streaked their faces, hearts pounding. Scout, I can't look down again. Then don't, she said, voice steady. Just hold the rope. He nodded, hands trembling. She bent toward the well, peering into darkness. Bones, earth, secrets. Scout, it's worse than I thought. She didn't flinch. Worse than anyone would admit. Scout, we finish this now? She nodded once. Then we finish it. Scout, how? She handed him the flashlight. Shine it down. The beam cut through darkness, revealing shapes pressed into the earth, reminders of lies and silence. Scout, all of them? Every single one, she said. Dust shifted as they leaned closer, hands brushing. Scout, I don't know if I can handle this. You can, she said. We have to. The desert seemed to hold its breath, wind still, sun low. Scout, we expose everything? She nodded, slow, deliberate. Scout, even him? He's already exposed. Scout, the governor? Yes. Every man who hid behind orders, who buried the truth. Scout, and the town? They watch. Scout, will they act? She shook her head. They'll remember. That's enough. Scout swallowed. The rope dug into his hands. She leaned over, brushing dirt from a boot, a fold of cloth, remnants of lives ignored. Scout, it's heavy. She nodded. Every secret weighs. Scout, then why do it? Because no one else will. Scout, and if they try to stop us? She met his gaze. Let them. Scout, the curse, it's gone. Scout, for good? She tightened her grip. For now. Scout, and us? We carry it. Together. They descended carefully, hands brushing, eyes scanning, muscles tense. Scout, I see it all now. Bones, letters, broken badges, the weight of decades pressing in. She exhaled slowly. Now you understand. Scout, it's too much. She shook her head. Not too much for truth. Scout, then we finish it? Yes. Dust rose as they worked, shifting earth, uncovering everything meant to stay buried. Scout, the town, they will remember. Scout, the lies, exposed. Scout, the men? Accountable. Scout, and him? His name will be carried, not hidden. She straightened, chest heaving, eyes dark and unwavering. Scout, we did it. She nodded slowly. The desert stretched endless, wind carrying faint whispers, dust settling over the truth laid bare. Scout, it's over? She glanced at the horizon. For now. Scout, then we can go. She shook her head. Not yet. First, they witness. Scout, everything? Everything. The badge glinted in the last light, proof that justice, slow and relentless, had been delivered. Scout, we finish it. She smiled faintly. Together, they watched, breathed, and waited as the desert swallowed shadows, secrets, and silence, leaving only truth exposed. The desert night had fallen, cold and vast, but the well glimmered faintly in the moonlight. Scout, it's quiet now. She shook her head. Not silent. Scout, the town, they whisper. Scout, the men? Exposed. Scout, the governor? Gone. She looked down at the well, hands resting on the rope, chest steady. Scout, and us? Together. Scout, are we safe? She glanced at him, eyes reflecting the stars. Safe is a word for those who hide. We don't hide. Scout, I still hear it. What? Scout, the curse, the silence. She smiled faintly. Transformed. Scout, into what? Memory. Accountability. Truth. Scout, and if they forget? They won't. The desert carried the weight of their work, dust and shadows mixing with the wind, carrying voices, faint but growing. Scout, I can't believe we did this. She glanced at him, hands dusty, badge glinting. Neither could I, a scout, what now? She took a deep breath, scanning the horizon. Now we live with it. Scout, and the past? Buried, uncovered, remembered. Scout, will they forgive? Not all. Some never will. Scout, and the ones who died? Especially them. Silence stretched, but it was lighter, freer. Scout, I feel something. Relief. Scout, fear gone? Never gone. But tempered. Scout, we carry it? Together. Scout, always? Always. The town's faint murmurs reached them, scattered lights flickering like cautious stars. Scout, do they understand? Slowly. Scout, and the curse? Gone, transformed. Scout, forever? It changes with us. Scout, the desert, it remembers. Scout, and us? Always. She stepped closer to the edge of the well, letting the darkness settle around them, hands brushing the rope one last time. Scout, are we alone? No. Scout, who's with us? Everyone who couldn't speak before. Scout, and the dead? Watching. Scout, the truth? Exposed. Scout, and the future? Carried forward. She let the badge swing gently at her belt, catching moonlight, a small shimmer against the dark. Scout, we finish it? She nodded, voice soft but certain. We finish it. Scout, and then? We go on. Together. The wind picked up, carrying dust, whispers, and the weight of the desert's secrets. Scout, I'll remember this. She glanced at him, eyes dark and steady. So will I, Scout, forever? Forever. The well lay open, empty of lies, full of truth. The desert seemed to exhale. Scout, it's done. She smiled faintly, glancing at the stars. For now. Scout, then we go? Together. They stepped back from the edge, side by side, shoulders touching slightly, hearts heavy but steady. The chapter, and the story, closed on the moonlit desert stretching endless before them, proof that they were not alone, that the past had been faced, and that truth, once buried, could never be hidden again. The first light of dawn spilled over the desert ridges, dust glowing faint gold. "Scout, it feels different now." She didn't answer immediately, eyes scanning the horizon. "It is different," she said finally. "Scout, the town?" They talk, cautiously. "Scout, the deputies?" "Learning." "Scout, the governor?" "Broken." "Scout, and the rest of us?" "Together." "Scout, for how long?" She glanced at the well, empty but heavy with memory. "As long as it matters." "Scout, the curse?" "Gone." "Scout, the bones?" "Remembered." "Scout, the silence?" "Shattered." "Scout, and the badge?" "Proof." "Scout, it's still yours?" "Always." She adjusted it slightly, the metal catching sunlight, glinting over dust and sweat. "Scout, what about those who won't change?" "Let them carry it." "Scout, even him?" "Especially him." The desert seemed calm now, almost approving, but the wind carried whispers of reckoning, of promises made long ago. "Scout, promises?" "Buried promises." "Scout, whose?" "Everyone who lived in fear."